Shalom and namaste everyone. Now I usually don't do it. The second someone is sending me a video longer than 5 minutes, I'm not game. However, this a lot of people send me this video. It is 18 minutes long and it's titled "How did Israel become super powerful and what India need to learn from it?" Now it is sound interesting. I'll give you that. So let's just watch the video.
Thousands of tanks from Egypt, Jordan, Syria surrounded the Israelis.
After only 6 days.
Oh, it's the 6 days war. I was confused because this video just started without any explanation. Just like throwing you into the
The
war.
war is over. Israel now controls 3.5 times as much land as it had 6 days ago.
The days when the Jewish people remain passive in the face of genocidal enemies, those days are over.
In under 70 years, in establishing what's the most formidable, powerful militaries in the world. And
Ynet has reported Tel Aviv is the world's #2 city for tech startups, behind only Silicon Valley in the United States.
हम दो देशों के बीच फुल डिप्लोमेटिक रिलेशंस को भले 25 साल हुए हो, लेकिन सच्चाई यही है कि भारत और इजराइल कई 100 साल से बहुत गहराई से जुड़े हुए हैं.
Thank you, Modi ji, for finally recognizing what the civilians have said this whole time.
Hi everybody. Israel is one of the most powerful countries in the world. And what's absolutely mind-blowing about this country is that Israel has fought 6 wars, 2 intifadas, a continuing terrorism threat, and
Just to clarify, what is intifada? Intifada is terror attacks on civilians. Random terror attacks, not organized by anyone, just organized by terror organizations. Buses were exploding. We're not allowed to go to the mall because, terrorists were there. It was dangerous for us to walk in the street because there were people with knives trying to stab us 2 times, and that was terrible. And I lived through one of them.
economic boycott and a diplomatic isolation from almost all of its neighboring countries. In fact, for the first 5 decades, they were averaging at 1 major war per decade. Now, for a country that is so fiercely engaged in war, Israel is not even a big country. They are smaller than our state of Kerala, have a population that is less than half of Mumbai, and they don't have any natural resource to bank on, including water. But even then, today they are called as the startup
That's in Jerusalem. If you're watching on my Instagram stories, you recognize this place.
nation with a GDP of $480 billion. They are the 10th largest weapons exporter in the world, and most importantly, it is literally the 8th most powerful country in the world, even ahead of oil-rich nations like Saudi Arabia and UAE. The question is, in spite of not having any natural resource, without vast lands or population, with such a hostile environment around the borders, how did Israel become such a developed and rich nation?
Let me answer this, and you don't need to watch the entire 18 minutes. Survivor mode. We're constantly in a survivor mode because everyone is trying to kill us all the goddamn time. But let's hear what he has to
How
say.
did they become such a powerful country in terms of military and geopolitical power? How did Israel become a startup hub in spite of being at the epicenter of war? And most importantly, as Indians, what are the lessons that we need to learn from the incredible rise of Israel? This video is brought to you by Kuku FM, but more on this at the end of the video. This is a story that
By the way, this is so touching to see that the British were finally left my country and we are finally able to use this flag, the actual, our flag. I mean, this place used to be called Palestina by the British ruling, and this was their flag, but still so touching and moving. Like, imagine that this was the Bharatian flag. right now.
That dates way back to 14th of May 1948 when Israel had just declared independence. And the very next day itself, they were attacked by not one, not two, but 5 different countries simultaneously.
Some people
And these
don't
armies
like
came
it.
from Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon. And Israel was not just outnumbered but even outgunned because all they had were a few planes and weapons sent by Stalin. So obviously, everyone expected the Arabs to win. But you know what, guys? The entire world was shocked to see that suddenly these Arabs withdrew from their positions from all directions, including the Golan Heights, Jerusalem, and even Gaza Strip. And the Israelis did not just defeat all these armies, but even capture the western part of Jerusalem, the eastern part of Gaza, and the northern part of Acre.
We don't say captured, we say we freed because this is our land, and the fact that other countries conquered this land when we were forced to leave this land under the Roman Empire, that doesn't mean we came and conquer this land. We freed our land back. We are the ethnicity of this place, and we came back home.
The question is, in spite of having such a large army, in spite of having so many more weapons than Israel, why did these Arab soldiers withdraw? Well, as it turns out, the Israelis had one attribute that the Arabs did not have, which was a psychological strategy. Yes, you heard that right. In the middle of the war, the Israelis actually ran out of bombs and artillery. And this is when one of the soldiers actually came up with the idea of using seltzer bottles. For those who don't know, seltzer bottles are nothing but glass bottles that were used to store sodas. And when these bottles were dropped from high altitudes, they made the same whistling sounds like a bomb being dropped. And they made a loud noise when they burst. The best part was that they were very cheap, easy to acquire, and were available in abundance.
And how did we learn that? In our Bible, when we were here fighting, there was a people trying to kill us, and we were not. Again, we're outnumbered, so we broke a lot of clay pots and plants and stuff that make this sound like it's a lot of people, like we're a lot of people. So this is why the people who came to attack us thought we were bigger than what we actually are. So this is something that already happened before. We're just like history repeats itself, but we can learn from history, elevated it, and do crazy things like this.
So you know what? The Israelis gathered as many seltzer bottles as they could, loaded them in a crop duster plane, and dropped them on the nearby Arab areas. And these bottle drops made so much noise that the Arabs were convinced that they were being bombed. And since the on-ground soldiers could not face bombs dropping from the sky, they fled from those areas. On top of that, the Israelis used a weird weapon called the Davidka, which again was an unsophisticated weapon that neither had the accuracy nor did it have the capability to cause a lot of damage.
The Vidka, terrible weapon. Don't use it. However, like I said, if you're watching my Instagram stories, there is a Davidka in Jerusalem. A memorabilia with the Davidka, and I'm taking a picture of it, so I might post several pictures of the Davidka again. Like I said, don't use it. Seriously, not gonna help you.
But even then, the Israelis used it to drive away the troops from Safed and Golan Heights. The question is, how is that even possible? Well, as it turns out, this weapon made such a loud noise, and so thunderous was this noise, that most of the Arabs again thought that Israelis were using a secret deadly weapon, and some even thought that they had an atomic bomb. And because the Arabs were very bad with coordination, none of the army units could actually figure out what the hell were these Israelis doing. So again, most of the Arab citizens started evacuating the villages, and seeing the villages evacuate, even the Arab soldiers started fleeing the territories.
Hold on, this is not what happened. One thing that happened was the countries around us told the Arab citizens, like the Arab people who live here, if you want, you can leave your place, and when we're gonna conquer the land, you will come back and have more place. This is something really, really important. Yes, some of them left because of the war and the fighting and the fear of the Jewish people. The majority of them left because they have been promised more land after all the Jewish people, of the Israelis people, of the 12 tribes of Israeli people will be killed in those fights. The fact that we are waiting right now is something that until today you can see people calling themselves Palestinian refugees and having the key to the old house and blah blah blah. And then they're saying, we escaped in 48. That you did not escape. You left because other people, because other armies told you if you're gonna come back later, you will receive much more. But right now, move aside and let us kill all the Israeli people. They did not left because of ours. Like, they did not left because of us. The majority, this is not what happened. Like, learn the history, be aware of what the Arab armies tell the Arab people, because people who were just Arabs and living in Israel and were okay with this got every right to live here. Israel is still a place with a lot of different nationalities in this. A lot of countries around us, the Arab countries around us, it is a little bit more difficult to be from a different ethnicity and different religion in those areas. So I'm sorry for interrupting all the time, but this is super important to clarify what is the pictures you are seeing right now, because the people who left got a lot of support and helped. People helped the Arabs army help them pack and stuff, just like, go ahead, move aside, let us kill the Israelis, and then you're gonna go back home. This is what you see in those pictures.
These, combined with other clever techniques, resulted in the state of Israel controlling not only the Jewish state, but also 60% of the area proposed for the Arab state. Similarly, in 1967, when they got attacked by Egypt, Iran, Syria and Jordan, they had collected such accurate intelligence that even before the Egyptian Air Force could take off, while the pilots were having breakfast, Israelis bombed their airports, paralyzing the army, because of which they could take control of most of the Sinai Peninsula. And on top of this military intelligence, we have the legendary Mossad team. And one of the classic Mossad stories is that of a legendary spy named Eli Cohen, who was sent by Israel into Syria as a rich businessman who was willing to fund the Syrian power. He hosted lavish parties, funded the rising Syrian party, and got so close with the Syrian leadership that they allowed him to visit the Syrian outposts and reportedly even offered him the position of the deputy defense minister of Syria itself. Now, do you realize how crazy this is? So he did not just gather intel, but even offered to help the Syrians by planting eucalyptus trees at the outposts so that the soldiers could escape the scorching heat of the sun. And because of these trees and Eli's intel, the Israelis were able to accurately guess the locations of the Syrian outposts. So when the Six-Day War happened in 1967, the Israelis were easily able to attack the Syrians by using these trees as reference points for their locations. Similarly, it is said that one of Mossad's spies named Ashraf Marwan was the son-in-law to Egypt's president Gamal Nasser himself. And as a result of this extensive and sharp spy network, Israel was able to collect so much intel that even before the enemy attacked Israel, they were already in control of the war. This is how, through military hacks and intelligence, Israel was able to keep the Arabs out of their territory without causing any damage to their own lands. Now the question over here is, this is all just defense, right? And wars are super costly, isn't it? So how did Israel manage to grow its economy amidst all these wars? Well, for starters, the Israelis did have significant financial help. Number one, because of the Holocaust, the Jewish societies from all across the world funded Israel and raised money for them, including interest-free loans and aid.
Another thing, Holocaust do not exist in the entire world. Holocaust is just for the some parts of the Europe world, of the Europe countries. There were a lot of people, Jewish 12 tribes of Jacob, are in Arab countries that are also suffering. Yes, the funding and the money we got were also important, but at the same time, we did not had a lot of country. Israel was a really poor country. This is why we had to think of ideas like the battles that sounds like bombs. This is the second you don't have the second you don't have a lot of money and stuff, this is when you get creative. The second you're always in a survivor mode because people are literally trying to kill you, this is when you have to be creative.
This number was around 65 million pounds. Secondly, they got $850 million over a period of 14 years from 1953 to 1966 from West Germany as reparations for the Holocaust. And thirdly, from 1949 to 1973, they received an average $122 million a year as economic aid from the US. But
let's just be perfectly clear about the Germany, with the fact that Germany paid money. This is not covered, this is the amount of money Germany paid. one soul equal a lot more, and they killed and raped and terrorized so many people, from so many Israelis, so many 12 tribes of Jacob people, so many Jewish people. So I know people say, oh, that's a lot of money. It is not. It is not. Will you sacrifice one of your family members and knowing they will be going through a horrible death, but you will get this amount of money after some years? If you say yes, you're crazy. Get off. Get away from my channel.
What made them special and powerful is not this money, but the strategies that they deployed with this money to establish a powerful geopolitical position in the world. The question is, what exactly were these strategies? Well, the root cause of it lies in the education system of Israel, which is very, very different from India. And this is where you'll realize what an absolute failure our education system is. You know, guys, we produced more engineers in the past 15 years than the entire population of Israel. And yet, the quality of our engineers is so bad that today Indian engineers are recruited like commodities by mass recruiters. And it's not because these companies are bad, but because our engineers, including myself, do not have a competent engineering skill to add value to the market.
Okay, I will not say anything about this because I actually don't know about this, but you're being a little harsh on yourself, brother. Are you okay?
The question is, why? Well, as it turns out, while our engineering students are made to design engineering projects just for the sake of marks and submission, in Israel, because they cannot afford to have unskilled talent, they strictly evaluate the projects on the basis of the industry-specific problem that their project solves. For example, while most of our students make copy-pasted engineering projects with fancy names like artificial intelligence and data science that never really solves a problem in the industry, the Israeli students actually take up real-world problems like water scarcity, irrigation, traffic management, defense challenges, and even medical problems.
Because we live in a different reality from you. If we were living in your country with our enemies being China and Pakistan, but if we're not a small country, we will be in the same position as you are. Like, let's just be clear, we're in a survivor mode. The reason why we need to make sure we have water for, agriculture and stuff is because we have such a small place to grow our food. This is why we need to think about stuff like this. You are privileged to live in India, and you are so privileged to live in a place where you can have fields filled with food. We don't have that privilege. So it does make sense that we will have to think a little harder on those topics and on how we can create those things.
While our engineering students are taught about irrelevant technologies that have already gone outdated a decade back, the Israeli syllabus is changed periodically to suit the specific requirement of not just the domestic market, but even the international market. Because for them, every penny invested into the education needs to pay dividends to the economy or to the intellectual powerhouse of the country. And the result? Well, in the 1960s, while the country was suffering due to water shortage, one of their engineers named Simcha Blas invented the iconic drip irrigation, because of which a farm's water consumption could be reduced by 60% and the crop yield could be increased by 90%. So today, his company Netafim is a global powerhouse with more than 30.
Netafim, by the way, literally means drip, like drops.
30% share of the global drip irrigation market and sells its products in 110 countries, including India.
Okay, but let's talk about this for a second. What he did, he made a pipe with holes in it. That is it. I know some people also think like we're gonna think engineering, we're gonna invent this with that. Think small, and then think smaller, and then think cheaper, and there you have the solution. The taftafot, the netafim, the dripping things, it doesn't require all this advanced technology. It requires like a pipe with holes in it. Think small and then create amazing things. Don't try to go big all the time.
And that is some incredible soft power. Similarly, once an Israeli scientist was fed up with chronic stomach pain, so he ended up creating a digestible disposable camera that is now being used all across the world to diagnose infection, intestinal disorders, and cancers in the digestive system. It is a medical marvel because of which today we are able to access those areas of the digestive system that were completely out of range during that time. To top it all off, since the Israelis constantly had rockets fired at them, Israel, along with the US, developed a technology called the Iron Dome, which is by far the most sophisticated air defense system in the world. And the beauty of this tech is that it can shoot down 1,000 moving rockets mid-air with a 90% interception rate.
And if you saw you can go back to saw pictures and stuff I post from May last year. We had a war here, and the Iron Dome kept working all the time, like extra hours. Something really cool about the Iron Dome, the computer there can identify when a rocket is gonna fall on a place who is not populated, and it's not doing anything for that drone, which is a problem because it's fallen on farmers' lands, and so we're losing a lot of food, but people are not getting killed. So this is a cool thing about the Iron Dome. It is so loud. It's almost as loud as the Davidka, by the way. So I personally scared every time they're firing the Iron Dome. I'm just like, way too much noise for me.
And this is what it looks like.
Oh, I showed you that picture. So as you can see, it's just like a rocket, and then boom, taking it down. That's the whole point.
And today, Israel has 300 R&D centers with Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google and Intel. All of these companies looking for only one thing, and that is to extract the best out of the world-class talent of the Israelis. On top of that, in the 1990s, the Israeli government realized that because of the wars and hostile border conditions, very few foreign companies were willing to invest in Israel. So while Israelis were great at developing technologies, they did not know how to market and scale their companies because the market in Israel itself was too small. As in, let's say you developed a warehouse management system for an e-commerce company in India that can manage 1 lakh warehouses together or 100,000 warehouses together. So you will definitely find a place in the market with a giant company like Reliance or DMart. But the population of Israel itself was so small that this warehouse management product for 100,000 warehouses could not find a market in Israel. So you know what? The government of Israel came out with a game-changing policy that changed the face of Israeli economy forever.
You see that person that he's shaking his hand, by the way? This is an Arab calling themselves a Palestinian person in the Israeli government. So for those of you who are going to say, oh, but you're not nice to Palestinians, blah, 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 just know the people who are also self-identify as Palestinians are more than welcome to be in our government and are being treated equal. Just like a small thing for your knowledge.
This initiative was called the Yozma Fund, which was a government venture capital fund. In this policy, they invited international investors with the condition that the government itself would invest 40% of the funding provided the foreign companies invest the rest 60% in the Israeli startups. For example, if a company invested $6 million in a new Israeli technology company, the government would pay the remaining $4 million. And besides investing, the government also gave the investors the option to cheaply buy back the stake from them in 5 years. Basically, the government of Israel would take the risk of investing and selling their stake, by which all the profits can be taken up by either the existing investor or the new investor. Now, do you realize what a sweet deal this is? It's like the Indian government itself investing in Ola and asking SoftBank to join hands with it. And after 5 years, when Ola becomes a big settled company, SoftBank itself can buy the stake from the Indian government.
Ola is like Uber? Let me know in the comments.
So not so surprisingly, investors from all around the world flock to invest in these early stage Israeli startups. And in total, the Yozma funds raised $263 million for 164 startups with $100 million coming from the government capital. And you know what? Today, they are worth more than $3 billion. And once these venture capital firms saw value in these startups, just like we experienced a funding rush in 2021, Israel witnessed a boom in startup funding way back in the 1990s itself. And fast forward to 2022, today Israel has become as significant, if not more significant than the Silicon Valley itself. So now, Israelis build great tech and sell it to the American companies, bringing in a huge amount of wealth for the country. And some of these startups are Mobileye, which created systems of self-driving cars, got sold to Intel for $15.3 billion. M Systems, the USB drive company, got acquired by SanDisk for $1.6 billion. Waze, that created real-time traffic updates on the maps, got acquired by Google for $1.3 billion. And similarly, there were million and billion dollar deals made across domains in food, gaming, medical, and cybersecurity. This is the reason why today Israel is known as the startup nation with more than 6,000 startups and has a per capita venture capital that is 28 times more than the United States itself. And some of these startups even ended up laying the foundations for Israel's geopolitical power. The question is, what is the relationship between Israeli startups and Israel's geopolitical power? Well, as it turns out, these startups also ended up building the defense industry of Israel. And long story short, Israelis realized that if they keep on spending 30% of their GDP into war and keep on buying foreign weapons, they cannot grow their economy. So they built an in-house weapons industry that could not just build weapons for Israel, but also for the global markets. And all thanks to their industry-specific education and R&D investment. Just like the Iron Dome, Israel makes some of the most powerful weapons in the world. So now, their military spending has turned into an investment by which they made $11 billion merely through arms exports. By the way, along with the arms, Israel also provides cybersecurity and intelligence to various countries across the world. This, combined with the military intelligence and mandatory military service policy, the Israeli army stands as one of the most powerful armies in the world. Along with that, Israel also helped a lot of other nations when they were falling weak. For example, before 9/11, Mossad informed the US about a major attack in 2001. They supported India during the Indo-China War. They trained a special protection group, trained the army of Singapore when no one was willing to help them. And each one of these favors adds to the geopolitical influence of Israel. So because of this unparalleled strength that they have developed, the United States provides billions of dollars worth of aid to Israel so that they could keep a check on the Arab states and the Suez Canal. This is how, through Jugaad, intelligence, education, incubation, and engineering, Israel has emerged as a powerful progressive nation in spite of all odds. And this brings me to the last part of the episode, which are the lessons that India needs to learn from the incredible rise of Israel. Meanwhile, if you are someone who wants to know more about this brilliant country in your own regional language, you can check out audio shows of the creation of Israel and the Israel-Palestine war on Kuku FM app. Kuku FM is India's leading audio learning platform with over 4.5 plus rating and 1,000 plus non-fiction audiobooks in multiple regional languages across India. My favorite books in this platform are Start With Why by Simon Sinek for business and The Art of War for geopolitics. So if these kind of subjects intrigue you, go download the Kuku FM app from the link in the description. Moving on to the lessons, the first thing we need to learn from Israel is that in the world of geopolitics, you first have to stand by yourself before you expect others to stand by your side. In this case, the Jewish society, the Israeli army and Mossad laid such a solid foundation for Israel that the United States itself started funding Israel. Lesson number 2. Human capital, if utilized well, is a blessing in disguise, and if not utilized well, it will become a pain in the neck. While our education system is producing educated clerks in bulk, the Israelis invested into their talent and turned themselves into an intellectual powerhouse. And just like today we sing past glories of India being a Sone ki chidiya, if we don't work our ass off, 20 years later we would still be lingering in the past saying, once we had the youngest, biggest workforce in the world. And last and most importantly, while in India we often settle for mediocrity with the fear of failure, there in Israel, in spite of having a hostile border, in spite of fighting 6 wars, in spite of having lack of resources, the Israeli government had the audacity to bet on its own startups so that they could fail early but eventually go on to lead the tech revolution of the world itself. Because the Israeli culture believes in sweating in peace so that you don't bleed in war. That's all from my side for today, guys. Please have a look at all the study materials in the description. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
So first of all, thank you so much for making a video about my country. I see that you put a lot of effort towards it, so I really appreciate that. I post the entire video because I hate posting entire videos of YouTubers because I believe they deserve all the credit. However, this time he's talking about me and he's showing pictures of places I actually live really close to. So I felt like if you're gonna show my home, I have the right to also show it. But yeah, this is why I put the entire ad, everything. Please go watch the original video, link in the description. Support him because he actually made something a little bit better than the rest of the videos I'm seeing about Israel-India relationship and just about Israel in general. So first of all, good job. One thing that is just like, I don't think you guys are realizing it, The reason why we're so have to grow all the time and have to think as a superpower and all that fancy words is because we are always in a survivor mode. We're always, it's even in the Bible, in the biblical times, it's even right now, every time someone is trying to kill us, to make sure our ethnicity will not exist. This is why we have to defend ourselves. This is why we're always in this survivor mode. When he said about the pipes with the drops, like I said, it's not a big high-tech thing. This is the low of the lowest high, like this is a low tech. And this is so easy. And the second you try to think like how can we be big and huge and think about crazy things, like you're missing the point. The point is, look what you have right now around you. See how you can make those things. See how you can engineer those things and create those things to be something that will benefit you in the future. Now, one thing he didn't mention, where is it? Oh, there it is. I'd like to show you one of the things that I had to bring to school every single day for a long period of time. Think about like what you bring to school. You apparently have a backpack, you have notes, you have pencils, a ruler, I don't know what you guys are using, but I don't think you're carrying this thing to school with you. So this is an adult one. However, I had a children one because I know I'm short, but I was a lot smaller when I was a child, and we have to wear this. We actually had classes practicing on how to put this. This is coming in this small square box, and everyone has black and blue bruises on their thighs because it was really heavy and it's always like banged against us, and we have bruises from it. This is an actual thing. This is how it looks like. See, on the inside, I don't know if you can see it. This is where you breathe. This is how it looks like. You're changing it like this. If you have glasses like me, this is a nightmare. You need to take the glasses off and put it on the mask. Looks ridiculous, but at the same time, we actually had classes teaching us how to survive in a case someone will drop a bomb on us. This is something we had to have all the goddamn time. That was a nightmare. We also have drills on how to survive being kidnapped, terror attack. Everyone is like, practicing what will happen if there would be a fire or earthquake or something, but we had to practice what will happen if someone will try to stab us. That was our reality. This is why we had to think, and this is why we had to become this superpower. I don't like that name, by the way, because I really don't think we're at that position right now. We are in a survival mode all the time. Like I told you, this is what our school systems. He made fun of your school systems, but I really love the fact that in your school system you didn't have a special class where someone from the army explained to you how to put this on, because we didn't like that. That was one of the classes we really didn't like, but that was mandatory, and if you were outside you will get severely punished. And we didn't realize that if we're not learning, we can actually die because we're children. But this is my reality. This is not your reality. This is why your engineers don't have the same, oh, it's so dirty, look at my fingers. Your engineers don't have the same struggle as us. You guys have different struggles. I don't know what it is right now because I'm a person who's I'm an outsider. However, you have, like I said, you have the privilege to have food, and you have the privilege to know that farmers will continue growing food, and this is not likely that you're gonna wake up tomorrow and someone will tell you, oh, last night a bomb was there was a bomb on the entire field, so we cannot get corn or wheat or stuff next couple of months. This is not your reality. This is why we have to think all the time how to better ourselves. Everyone around us, which by the way, I thank you so much. I'm talking to the creator of the video, but I'm also talking to the people watching this video. Thank you so much for actually calling those countries Arabs, because bottom line, they're all Arabs. I know there's Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Jordan. Basically, they're all Arabs. They all came and conquered this area in the 7th century, all the Middle East and North Africa. This is not the actual, like, this is our home, this is our ethnicity, this is our place, okay? This is the place for the 12 tribes of Jacob. We're not looking to, conquer the entire world. This is why when we are conquering, as he said, or occupying or whatever fields, we call it to free our land back. We're not looking to create the entire world us. We're not trying to be this huge superpower. Maybe this is why I hate that word, because like we're not trying to take over lands that are not us. They're not rightfully us. They're not lands that is written in the Bible, that our fathers paid for that land, that we grew up here, we raised this, we created this place. This is belong to us. This is why we fight like that. The way we fight because we know that if we will not fight, we will not get smaller. We will be eliminated. We will disappear. We will have to be, again, forced to run away, escape for our lives. Not like this is so crazy, and I'm like, it's not something you guys in India or in other countries can realize unless you're like in Kashmir or places like this, because you don't live in a place who has this severe conflict all the time. So this is why we are in a survivor mode. This is why our engineers understand that if they're not engineering things that will benefit us, we will no longer exist. If you're an engineer in India, you can say, I want to engineer something else, I want to practice some other thing. We don't have that privilege. We say that we have to do things or else bad things will happen to us, and we have the history to show it. And people are keep telling us they will hurt us. So it's not something that we would just like, oh, that is so awesome how we slowly develop. And it's not something that is just like, oh, we have a lot of money from other countries so we can develop right now. A lot of our thoughts and ideas start so small and then they're growing. The dripping from the pipe, this is so small. And I want you guys to try to practice. If you're an engineer, try to see around you how you can benefit, how you can make something better, not with a lot of money, just with simple things you have next to you. Try to see how you can, create something better. This is a great exercise for you guys in being creative. This is mandatory for us to survive. This is great for you to get like more creative. If we're not creative, we will be dead. Yeah, anyway, I feel like I'm blabbing all the time. I'm sorry for interrupting him all the time because I had so many things I wanted to say and to clarify, and as you can see in the end of the video, I completely forgot a lot of things, like a lot of points I want to say. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for the guy who created this video. This took such a long time. I can clearly see he put a lot of effort into it, a lot of research into it, and like I really appreciate that. Seriously, I mean, I love it when people actually take the time to educate themselves and educate others, and I really like that video. Even if sometimes I stop and explain things, I can see how much he actually cares about learning. So I love people like this. Please go subscribe to his channel. All the love, all the support, everything you want to talk about, what you saw in the video, please write in his comments. Here you can ask questions about Israel from a Jewish, Israeli, Jerusalemian, I don't know how to say it, person. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Sorry it's really long, and I will see you next time. Later out. Goodbye everyone.